Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Mom on the Verge podcast, where I aim to help you improve your sense of joy, purpose, and meaning in this life. We will talk about a lot of different ways we can do this, but ultimately, we'll be working toward finding our way back home to ourselves and remembering that even in the most challenging times, peace is only a breath away. I am your host, Katie Farinas, a mom, nurse, and yogi on a mission to improve mental health and build community in our world. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new mini-sode. I'm so excited to be getting back to our mini-sodes, which I suspended over the summer just to get a little more space in my schedule with the kiddos. But the kiddos are back in school. Give an amen to that. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I was super ready for them to get back to school and for us to start having some more schedule and some structure and a little quietness while I was trying to work during the daytime hours. So I am stoked that the kids are back in school. But I'm also stoked to be back to doing these mini-sodes because I love this. This is my jam, facilitating meditation, breath work, mini coaching sessions through these mini-sodes are really just light me up. So I have missed doing them. And I've decided that the next several sessions are going to be little bits and pieces of how you can come back to your Dharma. So if you've been listening to my show for a while, you know what Dharma is. It's your soul's purpose. It's your essence. It's who you are at your core. If you haven't been listening to my shows for a while and you're a little confused on what the concept of Dharma or even soul purpose is, I will link some of my episodes where I explain what that is in greater detail in the show notes of this episode. But because this is a mini-sode and I'm going to try to keep this pretty small and digestible for you, I won't go into all the detail on that. But basically, we're talking about returning to who we are at our core and why we came here to this world. And it can be really hard because life throws a lot of stuff on top of us and we start to forget who we are and we start to forget why we came here and what really is meaningful to us and what lights us up and brings us joy and gives us a sense of purpose and makes us feel connected. So what I'm going to be doing is giving you little bits, little practices and little bits of teachings to try to help you start that process of figuring out who you are, what lights you up, what is purposeful to you and has meaning to you. And a lot of that work is about pulling back those things that are on top, right? We can't go straight to the answer. The answer requires some excavation. I recently had an executive coach on the show, and she said when she works with her clients, she thinks about it like Russian dolls, where you pull off the first layer and then there's another one. You just keep pulling back. The dolls just keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to the smallest doll at the core. And I really liked that that visualization. And that's what we're doing when we're uncovering our Dharma, right? That small doll was always there. When you looked at the larger dolls all stacked together, you couldn't see it, but it was there. It was always there. And that is true of our Dharma as well. We may not know what it is or be able to figure out what it is in this moment, but it's there. I promise you it is. And it's about pulling apart all the other Russian dolls or peeling off all the other layers that are on top of it. So today we are going to talk about the difference between joy and happiness. And I was recently speaking to a client of mine, and she was saying, nothing makes me happy. I can't find anything that I feel really like sparked and lit up about. And it made me think about the difference between joy and happiness. Because I think in our current culture, we don't talk a lot about that difference or even really recognize that there is a difference between joy and happiness. And I'll give you the story in my personal life of where I realized that there was a difference. and how I came to understand that there actually is a tremendous difference between joy and happiness, and that we really need to be focusing more on joy and less on happiness. But right now, we tend to go the other way around. So in my life, again, if you've been listening to the show for a while, for 11 years now. And I know that exactly because it was right after the birth of my son, and my son's turning 11. I have been battling chronic migraine, and it's been a truly transformational journey for me. Everything that I do now is in some way related to all I have learned from going through that journey. But that's a whole other topic that I will, talk about more in a future episode. But the point being, it's been a really challenging part of my life, and I have learned so much from it. And this is one of the things that I've learned. So quite a few years back now, I was really in the trenches of the disease, and struggling, really struggling, physically struggling, emotionally struggling, mentally and spiritually struggling. And I had not, I was still living in my old mindset. I was still very much asleep in my own life. And I was at a place where life really just did not seem worth living anymore. I just really couldn't see the reason for being here anymore. Um, when I felt the way that I felt all the time, and there didn't seem to be an answer, no one seemed to have an answer. I didn't know how long this was going to go on. And my in-laws at the time had a cabin in the Adirondacks that we used to go up to and spend long weekends out with the kids. And so we were there, and I was in the midst of a terrible, debilitating migraine, and feeling just so low and so joyless. There was no happiness, there was no joy, there was really only darkness at that time. And we decided to take the kids fishing, and everything, when if you've ever experienced a migraine, and those you don't know, when you have a migraine, everything is a Herculean effort to do, because you just feel so ill, and light bothers you, sound bothers you, movement bothers you, you have the pain in your head, you could be nauseous and throwing up. There's a lot of physical manifestations. So we decided to take the kids fishing, which I, wanted to be there for my kids, but at the same time was like, oh my God, this is going to be so hard to do. And I was very depressed, is the bottom line. So we went, and on the way there, I remember the thoughts in my head. I remember being so angry that this was my life, and that I couldn't enjoy anything, and that I was in constant pain, and that I couldn't be the mother that I wanted to be, or the partner that I wanted to be, that I couldn't do the things in my life that I really wanted to do, accomplish goals that I had in mind, or just do fun things that I really enjoyed. I was just really angry. And we got there, and we got the kids fishing. Well, my husband did, because I was really pretty incapacitated. And it was a beautiful day. It was not too hot and not too cold. There was this slight breeze. The sky was beautiful blue. The lake water was calm, but you could kind of hear it lapping up against the shore. Um, and I laid down on a rock. There was a big, wide rock where I could just lay down, and it was a beautiful weather out, but still just like a little bit of a teeny bit of a chill. But the rock had been sitting in the sun, and so the rock was nice and warm. And so I felt this like really beautiful, just almost like a warm hug from the rock when I laid down on the rock. And I put something over my face so that the sun wouldn't bother me. But I could hear the lapping of the lake, and I could feel the little breeze against my skin. I could smell just the fresh air, the beautiful, mountain air. And every once in a while, I would like pull my little my little face cover off, and I would take a look at the kids, who were, they were very young at the time, and they were just beautiful young children doing their fishing, having a good time, laughing, talking, playing. And I remember in that moment, there was a moment where I felt deeply, deeply grateful and content in the moment. But I also, in the same moment, felt so angry and so sad and so afraid. Um, and so it was just this very profound moment for me where first time I was realizing that I could hold two very different sets of emotions at the same time, that I could feel deeply sad, angry, frustrated, and scared. At the same time, I could feel deeply content and grateful and satisfied, and connected. And that was the moment I discovered that joy and happiness are two very, very different emotions and experiences. And so, as always, I go back to my yoga philosophy because I became very curious about this, very curious about, and at the time I didn't. At the time, I was not nearly as well versed in yoga philosophy as I am now. At the time, it was just like, wow, I can experience these two things at the same time. And that actually gave me hope because it made me realize that I didn't have to just live in the darkness, right? I could bring light into the darkness. And it doesn't mean the darkness would necessarily go away in that moment, but it meant that I didn't have to always face that direction. I didn't always have to face towards the darkness. I could choose to pan the camera, could choose to turn around and also or not pay attention to that darkness and instead shine my camera on this goodness that was happening in the same moment that all this terribleness was happening. And so the difference there, so can you see the difference there? So joy is about gratitude, it's about connection, it's about feeling grounded and deeply content. And happiness is different. Happiness is very outward focused, where joy is very inward focused. And when I say outward focused, to be happy, we often need some sort of external circumstance to be going the way that we want it to be going. We get the promotion we want. Our partner does something nice for us. We get a raise at work. We buy a new house or a new car. These types of external circumstances that create happiness in a moment. And happiness is great. I want to be clear that I'm not poo-pooing happiness. Happiness is awesome. And I highly encourage everyone to seek happiness. But it has to be understood that it's very dependent on external circumstances and therefore outside of our control. It's a very if-then way of thinking. If this happens, then I will be happy, right? If I get the promotion, then I will be happy. If I buy the house, then I will be happy. If my partner behaves in the way I want him to behave or hope to behave, then I will be happy. If my kids are successful, then I'll be happy. If I heal this disease, then I will be happy. Where joy is a very internally focused emotion or experience, and it's based in what's called in yoga santosha, or contentment. And I actually have a whole santosha episode that I will also link in the show notes. Santosha is one of the yamas, which are the yamas, and the niyamas are the 10 ethical guidelines of yoga. And so if you've been listening to this show for a while, we've been kind of slowly going through them. Every once in a while, I'll do an episode on one of those. I just did one a couple of weeks ago. The Santosha one I will link, but Santosha means contentment. And that is what joy is based in. There's actually a yoga sutra that says, when you live with an attitude of contentment, you will gain incomparable happiness or joy. And just so you know, also in yoga, the word for joy is ananda. So if you've ever been to a yoga class and they call out happy baby, or if they say it in Sanskrit, it's Ananda Balasana. And so that's the Ananda is joy. And so the basis of Ananda is Santosha, which is contentment. But we can do things. So while happiness is often dependent on external circumstances and that are outside of our control, and they're often short-lived, we can cultivate joy. We can create joy in our own lives. And there are many ways that we can do that. And it just like training ourselves to do anything else, whether it be, training our muscles to get stronger or training ourselves to become good at a certain skill at work, or whether it be, training ourselves in breath work or meditation. We can train ourselves to be more joyful by learning how to see the joy wherever we are. And so I mentioned, before, this client who was saying, I just don't ever feel joyful. I don't ever feel happy. I don't feel either one of those emotions. And I don't know how to feel them. It's like they're gone and they're never coming back. And so that is not an uncommon statement that I hear. That is a very common statement that I hear. And the amazing news is, if that's you, if you're saying life feels so dull and black and white and uninteresting and unjoyful, then I have great news for you. You have the power to turn that around. You have the power to change that. You have the power to train yourself for joy. And so, as in everything, whether you're training for a marathon or you're training for meditation or you're training for weightlifting, whatever you're training for in your life, we start with one tiny little step. And then once we kind of get that tiny little step down, then maybe we take it just a little bit further. I have a good friend of mine. She has a podcast. And her whole podcast is based on the 1% shift method, and she uses it in all areas of her life. And so I'll link her podcast in the show notes. She focuses a lot on health and wellness in general, like holistic wellness. But everything is about the 1% shift method, right? We do things in 1% tiny little increments. And so I am offering that up to you today. If you are looking to cultivate joy in your life, we're going to talk about 1% shifts that you can take to start turning towards joy. So here is my offering for you today. Take a little note card. If you want to be fancy about it, which I am very visually, like the way things look really impact me energetically. So I would suggest getting a pretty little note card if you have one, and write this very simple sentence on it, which is, today I will seek out joy. Or you could write, today I will notice joy in my life. Either one of those would work beautifully. And what you're doing, and then once you write it down on the note card, you keep it by your bedside. Every morning you wake up, before you reach for your phone, before you get out of bed, before you do anything else, you pick up your note card and you, with complete focus and mindfulness, read that sentence to yourself 3 times. And then you put the note card down, and then you go on with your life. Okay, that's all I'm asking you to do. Literally, this practice should take you 1 minute, maybe, and then see what happens. Because what you're doing there is you are planting that into your subconscious, right? You are putting that intention out into the world and planting it in your subconscious at the same time. And what you may start to notice is that the things that have been happening around you every day that you didn't recognize as joy, you start becoming much more aware of them. And we're talking about small things here. It could be the way the light kind of hits the room. Sometimes the lighting is really pretty when it comes in the windows, and the way it falls against the furniture, the floor, wherever it is in your house, just has a really pretty look to it. Maybe all of a sudden you notice that, and then you turn inward and you're like, oh, actually I just felt a moment of joy. So it was really small, it was really fast, but there it was. Or maybe you notice it's fall in the Northeast where I am, and maybe you start seeing that the trees are starting to turn colors a little bit, and you really pay attention. You really take that moment to like really look and be like, oh, look how pretty the trees are turning colors. Joy. Maybe it's your kid comes home from school and gives you a hug. Joy. Do you have a pet? How when you get home and they're so happy to see you, and they're wagging, if it's a dog, they're wagging their tail, and they want attention from you. Joy. Maybe it's something that you do for yourself on purpose. Maybe at the grocery store this week, you're like, you know what? I'm going to get myself some flowers. And you get yourself some pretty flowers and you put them somewhere where you're going to notice them every day, and you take a second just to look at the flowers. Joy. So I'm asking you to just set the intention to notice the opportunities for joy that are already around you. And if you notice each of those examples that I gave, those small examples, they're about being content with that present moment. They're about appreciating and having gratitude for what's happening in the present moment. And it is really life-changing when you can begin to do this in your life on a regular basis. You begin to, it starts, it's like a snowball effect. So in the beginning, you might notice maybe just one thing. Maybe you set the intention and you just notice one thing that day. But over time, every morning, as you keep waking up and keep reading that note card and setting that intention, you will start to notice more and more and more things that bring you joy throughout the day. And the interesting thing is that what brings you joy is related to your dharma. And so I'm not asking you to go that far. We don't need to think that far into the future. Again, it's just a point of awareness. What's bringing joy for you, right? What are those tiny moments that are making you feel that deep sense of contentment and gratitude and connection in your life? And you can even journal them and write them down if you want. I want to keep this simple. So if you want to take it one tiny step further, you could write down what they are and see if you're getting any types of themes coming in. But if not, that's totally fine. Really, the intention of this minisode and this episode is to help you to cultivate joy and to begin to do that just by noticing what brings you joy in your everyday life that you may have been just walking through life, just not aware, not paying attention to, and noticing that it's already there in your life. You can do lots of things to bring more into your life, but I promise you, there is joy already in your life. So last week, I had this conversation with my client, and I asked her the question. She said there was no joy in her life. I told her, get the note card, try it, tell me what comes back. I recently reached out to her because we have not met again yet. And I said, did you notice any small moments of joy this week? And she said, yes, definitely. My dog brought me a lot of joy. I made myself present to fully enjoy when she was excited and wanting to snuggle with me. Her little fluff in my face brings me more happiness than it probably should. Also, when the girls, she has 2 girls and a boy. Also, when the girls are hugging, it brought me tremendous joy. Right? So these are the things that have already been happening in her life every single day. And she just hadn't taken the time to notice them and that they were actually bringing her joy. But once she set the intention, all of a sudden, boom, she noticed they were there. Okay. So I hope that clears up for you the difference between joy and happiness. And I would love to hear what you think, if you've ever thought about the difference between joy and happiness. If you have, ever noticed that difference in your life, if you understand this comparison that I'm making. Um, and I would also encourage you to, so I think we often with our children, we say we want them to be happy. We want our children to be happy. We want them to be happy. Yes, we do want them to be happy, but I think we want them even more to be joyful, because joy is such a deeper, more profound, lasting emotion than happiness. So in every decision you make for your child, I would keep that as a barometer, right? Is this going to bring them joy? Not happiness, but joy. And every decision you make for yourself, use that same yardstick. And I promise it will lead you in the right direction, and it will lead them in the right direction as well. Okay. I probably did not keep this as short as I wanted to. I apologize for that. I am terrible at keeping things short, but I hope this was useful to you. I would love to hear from you. If you decide to do this exercise, you put the note card by your bedside and you spend the next few weeks setting this intention every morning. Reach out, let me know. What moments of joy did you notice? Has it impacted your joy, your levels of joy in general? Did it start to snowball? Did you start to notice more and more moments of joy in your life once you started setting this intention on a regular basis? All right, guys, have a wonderful week. I will have a long form episode come out later this week, and I hope you have a joyful day. Okay, so I just wanted to put out my 12-week coaching program to you guys and let you know exactly what it's involved. If you like this episode, then you got a little taste of what coaching is like. My program is 12 weeks. It's one-on-one. We meet once a week and we go through a topic each week that will help you come back to your essence, come back to your dharma, come back to your soul purpose. It really is for anyone who just wants to feel excited by life again. They want to feel like they have purpose. It's for people who are going through really challenging experiences in their lives right now, and they just feel like life, what's the point? What's the point of it all? Why am I here? What's the point of this struggle that I'm experiencing? What am I meant to do with this, right? This is happening to me. What am I meant to do with it? If you're in that place like I was with my migraine, it is for you, because I promise you nothing happens to you by accident. There is always a reason that you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and you can always learn from it and make yourself and the world a better place. And I can help you do that. And when you can take your pain and turn it into purpose, that is when life gets really good. We think we want to walk around all the time just happy. And that if we could just be happy, if life would just just listen to us, right? If life would just do what we asked it, then we wouldn't have to suffer and we'd walk around happy all the time. And we think that's what we want, but really that's not really what we want. Really what we want is joy, and joy comes from taking those challenging things that happen in our lives and processing them and learning from them and creating meaning from them, and then using that to serve yourself and serve the world. There's a Buddhist saying that says, do all things for the good, do all good things for the good of all beings. And that is really what we're talking about. We're talking about doing this work for the good of yourself, who you happen to be one of the all beings that they're talking about, and for the rest of the world, and to serve the rest of the world. So if that's you want to feel happy, you want to feel joyful, you want to feel excited, you want to feel inner peace, right? You don't want to be walking around with feeling so much turmoil inside of you all the time, all these questions, the same questions swirling over and over and over in your mind about, what's the meaning of all this? And why don't I feel like I should feel happy and content and joyful and excited? Why does life seem like it's in black and white? What's the point of this suffering that I'm experiencing? Why do I feel just so disconnected? I feel like I don't feel connected to myself. I don't feel connected to a community. I don't feel connected to something, a larger being greater than myself. I just feel so adrift and lost in my life, so lost. If you're saying those things to yourself, then this is the coaching program for you. It is based in yogic philosophy. We will do lots of discussion and teaching, just like we did on this past episode. But we will dive deep into your personal circumstances. Right when I do these minisodes, I'm just speaking very generalized, so that hopefully lots of people can get a little bit out of it. But if I'm coaching you directly, we are taking your very personal circumstances, and we are using these concepts to break them down and figure out how you can get to a place of meaning and purpose and connection, using this ancient wisdom, this ancient philosophy that is now being proven over and over to be effective in neuroscience and psychology and brain science. It's pretty wild. But we're also taking exercises like meditation and breath work, journaling, somatic exercises, all of these mind body techniques that will help you take these concepts and really, when we learn something and we memorize it, it becomes information, maybe it becomes knowledge. But when we integrate it into the cells of our being, when we take what's in our mind and we put it into our being, our body, it becomes wisdom. And so when you come out of these 12 weeks, you are going to know what your dharma is. You're going to know what your purpose is. You're going to know what's blocking you from accessing it. You're going to know how to overcome those blocks. And you are not going to just know it in the sense of like this information that you've acquired, like you went to university. You are going to know it deeply in your cells. And when you know information in that way, it never leaves you. It stays with you forever. It becomes bound up inside of you in a way that just memorizing something and knowing something in your brain can never be with you. So that is what we do together. I would love to work with you if you are that person. You are asking yourselves those questions about what is the meaning of all this, and why can't I find my purpose, and why am I so lost, and why don't I feel joy, and why don't I feel connection, and turn all of that around and answer all of those questions for you and help you to understand how you can change that all for yourself. Because all I am in this journey is your guide. Just like when I teach a yoga class, I'm not really the yoga teacher. I don't love that word, even though we commonly use it. I am your yoga guide because you have the knowledge inside of you. You have the wisdom inside of you. You have the answers inside of you. But just like in any other form of coaching, like we think of coaching often as something that's done for sports teams, right? So what does the coach do? The coach stands back and watches the player or players, and they see where the player or players are getting tripped up, where they're getting caught, where they're getting in their own way. And from that vantage point of being outside of the experience and being the observer of the experience, they can come in to their players and say, this is what I'm seeing, and this is what's getting in your way, and this is how you can get past it, or these are ways of getting past it. Let's see what works. Let's see what works for you. And that's what I do as a dharma coach, a life coach, a spiritual coach. I'm on the outside of your experience. I'm looking in, and I'm seeing things from a perspective that you just can't see them from because you are in them. You are too deep in the experience. And not only will I help you get past those blocks, help you understand what's blocking you and then get past them, but I'm going to teach you how to be the observer of your own experience, how to create the separation that is required for you to be able in the future, after you're done working with me, to have the skills to be able to take the drone view of your own life and see where your blocks are and what you can do to overcome them so that you can keep going down this path of purpose and meaning and connection and joy. So if that sounds like you sound like that person, this is what you want. Book that discovery call on my website, momontheverge.org. It's a free discovery call. It's 20 minutes. We have a little chat. There's no obligation to work with me. If you like what I have to say, then we will get down to work, and I will be super excited. And if I'm not the right coach for you, or you just don't feel ready at this time, totally fine. There is no obligation to work with me. So please don't let that hold you back. If you're feeling really kind of torn and on the fence about whether you're ready to commit to this program, let's just have a conversation. And one big beautiful part of the yoga journey, or the yoga philosophy, is that we allow everyone to be where they are on their path without judgment. So, if you and I have a great conversation and you're like, you know what, I'd love to work with you, but there's too much going on in my life right now, or it's not financially feasible, or actually, I just don't think you're the right person for me. You are on your own path, and that is a beautiful path to be on. And wherever you are on that path is the perfect place to be on that path. And so there will be no hard feelings, no judgments, no pressuring, no salesy, pitchy, nothing. We are just going to have a heart-to-heart conversation and see where it takes us. All right, my friends, I love you so much. Have a joy-filled day, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. Hi, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our other episodes, I ask that you please like the show, follow, subscribe, or share. The way that podcasts work is the more people that do one of those things, the more likely it is that when someone's looking for a podcast to listen to, our show will pop up for them. I started this podcast because I really see there's a great need in our world for people to feel more peace, joy, love, and acceptance in their lives. And I think we can do that when we have a greater sense of self-awareness. We could become conscious creators of our own lives. And I'm seeking to do that for as many people as possible. So if you could help me by liking, sharing, or subscribing to the show, I'd really appreciate it. And hopefully someone hears a conversation that changes their life. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Much love.